this one was far and away the most interesting, original, which might sound, counterintuitive to people who realize that Frankenstein is, of course, a story that has been told many times before, but this version of it is so, is so its own thing, and bears, very little relation certainly to the original book, and sort of manages to incorporate pieces of all the incarnations of Frankenstein that have come since, while simultaneously being its own entity. So yeah, I did. I just found it highly original, and I suppose I like anything that is kind of that dares to be sort of a bit bold and just has fun with the genre that it's in. And there was a lot of playfulness in the script, and it was just, and also the relationship between Victor and Igor is such an exciting one, and I knew that if we could find the right Victor, that it would be hopefully a really fun relationship to portray. He is this much maligned, abused, mistreated hunchback who is working at a circus and has sort of been brought up and grown up in the circus, and as well as his sort of physical deformity, he or perhaps sort of because of it, he's had to develop certain skills to keep himself useful, and keep himself sort of inexpendable. And one of the things he does is that he's become a brilliant surgeon and has sort of educated himself through picking up scraps of medical textbooks that he's found and come by, as well as just practical experience of treating animals and performers around the circus. And that's sort of the role that he's found himself in. And he's really, that's his refuge from the rest of the world, is that he sort of hides himself in these books and in his studying. And so really he's turned himself into a kind of savant of surgery and all things like that. But of course this skill is totally underappreciated by the people that surround him every day, who just despise him and mistreat him. And then one day an accident at the circus brings him to the attention of Victor Frankenstein, who at that point, he's taken under Victor's wing, and Victor gives him this new life as a scientist, and gives him an opportunity to help him change the world. Igor realizes he's out of the circus and free for the first time, and really Victor then, makes the world that Igor has dreamed of for his entire life, this world of books and a world where intellect is valued. He makes that a reality for him, and he gives him not just a chance to be a part of society in a way that he never thought he would, but actually a chance to impact the world, rather than just being, forgotten about and dying in this sort of abused circus as he thought he was going to. So Igor develops immediately a dogged loyalty to Victor because he saved him, and that really forms the, I think that's very important to realize, is that's why that loyalty exists, just because he has essentially created a new life for Igor, because otherwise I think people would be thinking a lot of the time in the film, why is Igor letting Victor treat him like this? Because Victor is also a very, up and down personality. Lorelai's is a great character because she, in the way that Igor is there to try and save Victor from himself, Lorelai's there reminding Igor that he doesn't actually owe Victor everything, despite the fact that I sort of think I do. Creating a man was always sort of the pinnacle of Victor's ambition. Creating a man from nothing, or from just reanimated flesh, that represents the pinnacle of what he has been able to do as a scientist, and that's really at the point where Victor has kind of forgotten what he set out to do, because he set out to start saving lives and to make something that was almost unarguably beneficial for mankind. And because his ego has sort of taken over, and just rather than saying what's the best application of this science, he's saying how far can I push this, how famous can I make myself. one of the actors I've looked up to since I was very young. He's an amazing actor. He's bold. He's incredibly strong about, sort of understanding his character and knowing what his character wants out of the scene and knowing what they would and wouldn't do, and just I think he's one of those actors that because he comes in and he is so bold and he hits the ground running in such a exciting way that it gives all the people around him like permission to be, to be bold as well and like make bold choices. And yeah, he's really like I found him fantastic to work with. Jess and I get on really, really well. She's a wonderful actress. She's incredibly calm and like she's quite mad and hyper and funny as well. But she's also like got a real calmness to her, and she doesn't really get like phased by much. Because this is quite a mad set and a lot going on and everything, and she's just always like really sort of serene and seemed pretty sort of chilled out, and yeah, and she's lovely to work with. She's got a fantastic, she's very giving in the scene. She wants to like get involved and work on the scene with you, and that's all you can ask for as an actor, is to be in a scene with other like generous actors. Andrew's like an amazing actor. When I heard that he was playing the part, I was ecstatic. Like I loved it. I was such a fan of his work on Sherlock, and I just think he's a brilliant actor. He's also one of those men who, is sort of famous for playing, guys like this, sort of like quite driven, scary guys. And in real life, he's just the nicest man. If this movie, is going to be set then and real, it has to have like a visceral, you know, very real feel to it. And so when Paul came on board, those were all of the things that he was talking about, was introducing audiences to like a darker, a less caricaturish side of England at that time, and also to not think of it as a period film, but to think of it as a film about being completely and totally modern, just set in 1860. Because that's what they were. They weren't thinking of themselves as being historical at the time. These guys were like at the tip of the spear, and they were, you know, and it was at a time when science was viewed as not just being like observational about the world around it, but actually creative, and could shape the world around it. So that was, when Paul came in talking about those things, I was very excited, because I think that sounded like an exciting thing to show audiences that they might not have seen before. I think this film is going to be like a real kind of old-fashioned adventure movie. Like it's a real, like it's both exciting because it is sort of, it isn't afraid to, sort of, it doesn't shy away from intellectual issues and moral issues and talking about those, but they're discussed always in a very real way that's sort of affecting the situation that people are in, and in a very vital way, I should say. And alongside that, there is just this like great fun adventure story about two guys pushing each other as far as they can, and then one having to try and save the other one from himself. Like it's kind of got a lot of classic elements in there.